Right.
Gavier,
Yeah.
a good morning to you.
Yeah. Good morning.
And how have you been?
Fine.
I've been fine too. And lately, we previously talked about some revolutions, like the French Revolution.
Yeah.
I hope you remember that.
I've Last week I've been looking at the American Revolution and French Revolutions.
Okay, and you see a connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, so I want us to, in our first episode today, to talk about, because we talked at length about the French Revolution.
Yes.
Everyone watching this, one of the things that we're trying to build here is that we are building revolutions from back then until a time where we get to how these revolutions impact uh, world wars, like World War One, then World War Two, okay,
Yeah.
and how we get the rise of dictators like Adolf Hitler. And I know you're passionate about uh, things about the history about Adolf Hitler and the Nazi and all that he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Lenin and Stalin and then the Bolshevik, and then we shall also briefly talk about the Russian revolutions later, which I know you are informed about.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me about the American Revolution now. What did you watch? What did you notice? What did you pick out of all these? Because it keeps moving from protests to liberties to freedoms, okay, to self drives and everything. So go ahead, please.
So you know how. So one
Give
thing
me like a background of all this.
a background.
Yes, of this American Revolution.
I mean, for the viewers, you can give it to them.
Okay. Oh, no, go ahead.
All right. So basically, starting off, there's one thing I've noticed about the French and American revolutions. The American Revolution is almost like the French Revolution, but a lot less bloody. The reign of terror during the French Revolution,
Yes, please.
where like 80,000 people got guillotined. At least the American Revolution was a lot more peaceful, although mobs would come into the houses of people who supported the British cause and just beat them up and make them leave their properties. But for the French, if you are even suspected of not liking the revolutionary cause, to the guillotine, chop 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 chop.
Head off.
Yes.
Okay. Uh, what do you think were the main causes of the American Revolution versus the French Revolution?
I mean, there's one pretty common cause between those two. Actually, two of them. First of all, yeah, you know how, and they're pretty similar, by the way.
Yes.
For the
now-
French Revolution, they have been at wars with the British, and before then as well. Like Louis the 14th, also
yes,
known
from the 14th, the 16th, 17th, and 18th, and then you later get to Charles, like that.
Yeah.
And then Napoleon Bonaparte one, and then Napoleon Bonaparte two. That trend.
Like you know how France has consistently been at war, especially with Britain. That dried up their coffers. Like the economy was not doing that great.
Okay.
And then you also see a parallel with the American Revolution. You know how Britain and France fought each other during the 7 Years' War.
Yes.
That also dried up British coffers. And in turn, both of those countries had to raise taxes, particularly on the poor. Like you see how, and the poor did not like it at all. See, like for example, I remember there was one time when during the prelude to the French Revolution, or was it during it? Right, the king proposed raising taxes on the third estate, aka the poor, the middle class, and everyone else. See, and one thing that the third estate couldn't do was that they couldn't outvote the two upper estates, which were the clergy and nobility. The dumb thing, the very silly thing that King Louis did was that he allowed each state to only have one vote.
And remember, his wife, Marie Antoinette, one time suggesting that if people can't afford bread, they should eat cakes.
It's actually believed to just be a rumor, but
yeah, it's a rumor.
Here's the thing.
But that's what history does.
Here's one thing I saw from someone. From someone. He told me this. Marie Antoinette couldn't have said that.
Why?
People couldn't have said that people should just eat cake because she was that out of touch with the common peasant.
She was extravagant. And people were watching.
Like, she couldn't have even told people just go and eat cake because she's just living in her palace, throwing her lavish parties. Could she even know any solution to their problems? Not even. I don't like he. No. Could she have even said go eat cake when she was that out of touch?
And then they talk about those number of shoes that she used to have. Very many pairs. Well, what that explains is the inequality.
Yeah.
The gap between the rich and the poor. Now, look at the American Revolution. Back to the American Revolution there then. You have taxes, like the stamp tax. Okay?
Yeah.
The tax on tea. Okay? Which caused what we call the Boston Massacre. Okay? The Townsend, affair. This was Charles Townsend, a chancellor then, a British chancellor then, who was trying to impose a few things on the colonists. Okay? And then remember that the colonists were actually, what should I say, they were having a virtual kind of representation. They were not actually there in parliament. Okay?
Okay, here's one thing I've also noticed about the American Revolution.
Yes, please.
It has a lot of ambiguity. Like, for example, when you look at one of the reasons that people didn't like the American Revolution, here's one quote I remember. Like, it's a British loyalist who said this: would you rather live with a tyrant 7,000 miles away, or like with 1,000 tyrants not even a meter away? He was basically like, he said this because he believed that the American Revolution would just cause anarchy. And there's a lot of historical precedents to prove that when revolution happens, anarchy happens. Like, you look at Rome, it fell into anarchy.
Yeah. Now, one of the major causes of people's plight is things that simmer the plight of people is taxes. That is one thing. So these guys are saying, the colonists are saying, no representation, no taxes. If we are not having a voice in parliament, then we most certainly will not give you taxes. We won't accept taxes on tea. Okay? We won't accept the affair of Charles Townsend and what he's imposing on us. We won't accept the stamp tax. Okay, all this put together brings anger. And what do you have? It's a revolution. Did you know? Tell me about the role of the black people in the American Revolution. What did you notice in what you watched in those documentaries?
One thing I've noticed is that the blacks weren't majorly keen on the revolution. They just wanted freedom. Like you know how there was slavery and all that.
Mm.
So basically, blacks were less focused on which side should we support during this revolution, more like which side gives us a better chance of gaining our freedom.
Mm.
And yeah, of course with the British you had a better chances. They outlawed slavery like way earlier than most nations.
Yes. Why would you say the French Revolution was bloodier than the American Revolution?
Well, for example,
Like, what brought about that?
just when you look at the reign of terror, that's enough to make anyone even to know this revolution. This is not a normal revolution.
Right?
Like even like
Storming
Robespierre.
of Bastilles. You read that?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I remember.
Okay.
Yeah, Bastille Day when basically, when the when a mob when a mob just stormed the Bastille and Governor Delaunay, the one who was managing it, basically tried to delay the storming of the Bastille by like trying to negotiate with the protesters, but eventually they just came in and just killed everyone. And then they stuck Governor Delaunay's head on a pike and paraded him through the streets.
That was bad.
If you're a revolutionary and you're being putting up with taxes, famine.
By the way, tell me some of the characters of revolutions. What do you think? What do most of them have in common?
That reminds me of this quote. In revolution, you have the ones. I forgot to say this, but it's basically like this. In revolution, you have the ones who cause them and the ones who benefit from them.
Very true. Yes. Now they're always now. How would you describe, for example, a revolutionary leader?
A revolutionary leader. That reminds me of someone like Marat. John Paul Marat.
Tell me about him.
If you know him.
Yeah, I do.
He basically wrote a newspaper called The Friend of the People, affectionately, even though in that newspaper it does not even sound anything affectionate. It starts calling upon the execution of the nobility, the clergy. It's like if cutting off 1,000 heads isn't enough, let us cut off 10,000 more heads. That's the kind of stuff he would be saying.
So we are basically saying, because this being our very first episode, we're going to move this in episodes. Okay, this being our very first episode, we are basically saying that, okay, by the way, we're basically saying that we are going to focus on the taxes that these people faced that caused the American Revolution. Give me some key names that you remember in the American Revolution.
Of course, the founding fathers. You can't look into the American Revolution without mentioning them. Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, George Washington, all those guys.
Yes.
Well, many of them I can't remember all their names, but I just know there are a lot.
Yes.
Alexander Hamilton, etc., etc.
That is very good. So, guys, we are saying that one of the major, we're still continuing with the main man himself. We shall be going on, but our first episode is we are comparing the American Revolution with the French Revolution, and there are lots of we've only scratched the surface. There's a lot we are going to be talking about, But we are saying first, it was the taxes that brought about the American Revolution. Taxes on tea, taxes on glass, the stamp tax. Merchants were under pressure. Businessmen were not well represented. And that is why they were saying no representation, no taxes. How did the British get into America?
Well, first of all, when you look at the age of colonization, when the European powers were really like, okay, you know Christopher Columbus, right?
Yes.
This guy who discovered America. Now, when he sent word back to Spain that, hey, we discovered an entirely new continent, initially people were like, so what? Are we supposed to care? And then when he told them that there are a bunch of resources there, they were like, oh! And then they sent in the conquistadors and conquered everything. And then when the British and French and other European powers also learnt about this new continent, of course they had to go in there. I mean, resources, man, like, okay, you see the sugar, the tea, you see the variety of investments they could make. They could make some serious money off of it. Like, yeah.
And remember that the American Revolution is taking place while back in Britain, it is under the monarchy of King George III.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah, George the Third.
Yes,
George
III.
Yeah, George the Second was during the 7 Years' War.
Yes, that was during the 7 Years' War. But George III was the man in charge of England. Continue. You're still telling me more.
Oh yeah, that's where I'm ending with that. Why the British came, because the main reason why pretty much European powers came there was, the main reason was basically just for resources.
Resources.
Yes.
The world that's how the world becomes a smaller place, because everyone is scrambling and then grabbing land, and that is why the originals of the inhabitants of Americas there. You know, by the way, there is America and then there is the Americas. Okay, the Americas, we are talking about, take it all, South America and then North America. So in the South America, we all know which countries are there. Some of them having problems now, like Venezuela. Okay, all those those ones put together are called the Americas.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything you would wish to add?
No, I think we can end there.
We can end there.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, guys. Please don't forget to subscribe. I must tell you that the gentleman here is very resourceful. Always feel free to contact him for those who have his contacts, and we are going to carry on. And then again, if there are any questions that you need us to go through or answer, a relevant topic to this relevant topic, we're going to come in we are going to come with a variety of topics, okay, that will cover world history, that will cover economics,
philosophy too,
that will cover philosophy, that will cover psychology, okay, that will cover politics, all that, and geopolitics, all that. We are going to venture into that. Gabriel, thank you.
Yes, sir.
You're really a great man, I must say. Thank you, everyone.
There's one thing I want to add off before we go off.
Okay.
Usually, the best and most professional historians and the ones who were like, are the greatest. Yes, I'm feeling myself. Those are the ones who are like, those are the ones. They're the ones who are usually just aren't even that major in public. They're the ones who are so niche.
Exactly. And people do forget that, history, while it is talking about the past, it relates the past to the present and then helps you predict the future. Somebody once said that the people keep saying history repeats itself.
But it rhymes.
But it rhymes, that is one. But it is those that are in history that do not want to change history. So they keep repeating the same things. You know, one day you have Hitler, then another day there will be a making of another Hitler, then there will be another Hitler. For example,
but they can't be all the same, really. Okay, because you can't tell me that I'm going to have another version of myself in like next year. You know how my personality is so rare that no one can copy it.
Yes, I agree with you, but also remember that human nature keeps reinventing itself. That is what we were saying. Look at the imperialists.
Yeah, I'm trying to say, history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. Like, what I mean is that history doesn't, let me say this, it is not one-to-one, but it is close to being one-to-one at times, a lot of times, very often, by the way. That's what I mean.
Oh, I get you. And, you know, still to that point, it rhymes in a way that, don't you think also it is only the words that we apply that change? For example, look at colonialism, okay, and imperialism.
Yeah.
And look at all these conquests that take place. And man is still conquering more. Somebody comes, and then that is what we say, that the flag of the cross, the flag followed the cross. First, the white man comes with a cross, symbolic of Christianity.
Yes.
Okay? And then behind the cross is the flag, symbolic of ruling.
Behind that flag is the guns.
And then behind the flag is death.
Yes.
Literally, somebody taking what belongs to you.
And then behind those guns is the diseases they come with.
You see how it goes on and on? Okay? And then behind that, the diseases and the guns and everything, there is money and resources.
Yeah.
Okay? So, while these guys go to the Americas to grab the land, they come to Africa. And they go to Asia for spices, Africa for minerals, and then land in Americas. All the idea behind this is these natives of these lands try to be in defense of what should have belonged to them. But remember, somebody gives you 10 commandments, which you follow.
And that reminds me of one.
Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not do it. And you don't take all their stuff. I mean, you don't ask. That is how slavery comes in the question.
That reminds me of this one historical event I learned of. When the Spanish came to North America, they brought with them a bunch of diseases, in particular smallpox. And when smallpox came into contact with the natives, whose immune systems weren't particularly suited to this kind of disease, and also they didn't have any medicine to combat it. More than a half of the native population in Mexico was just killed.
Wiped out. Yeah, very.
Cultures erased.
Yes.
Permanently.
In fact, there are tribes, like in the Amazon, that have never seen civilization. They are there. Okay? Guys were simply picked and then taken to fight a revolution. Do you think who should actually... You have the French, you have the British, you have the colonists trying to fight a war on foreign land. And that is what revolutions do. Somebody brings a war to your backyard and then takes what belongs to you. Okay? So guys, that was just an additional. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to put our contacts in the description and in the
please.
comments.
Yes, please. Again, we need to remind you that this is just episode 1, and we were looking at taxation, how taxation caused the American Revolution. Back there, I explained the different ways taxes came in. He gave you The gentleman here gave you a background, a glimpse of here, there, everything of the background of the revolution. He also named some names. We only scratch the surface, but we encourage that you also do research. We do watch lots of documentaries. We do follow the news. We read history books, and we back up our information. Okay? So, again, thank you, and God bless.
Yeah.